Hello guys, you're welcome to my channel. In today's lesson, I would like us to take a look at the WASSCE questions 2024 for history paper 2, and this is essay. Okay, now before we even begin with the discussions, I would like to remind you to subscribe to our channel if you have not done so. If today is your first time, and if you have already subscribed, we thank you very much for your support as well. So nowadays, as we are aware, the paper 2 does not come out, so WAEC will take that paper with them. So the candidate is required to write your name here, your index number here, your signature here, your date also here. Now you must read the instructions here before you start to answer your questions. Obey the rubrics, the instructions over here. Now this portion is for examiners use only, so you are not supposed to write this area. Is that okay? Now this portion or box here, this rectangular box here, is for you to write the number of the questions you answer in here in order of how you answered them. So if you answered number 4 first, you write 4. If the next number question number you answered after question number 4, it's maybe question number 2, you write 2 here. If the next question you answered is 5, after question number 2, you write 5 here. So 4, 2, 5, and the last number was say 1, you write 1 here. So it should be in that order. So let's begin with the questions. So once again, you read the rubrics, the instructions, answer 4 questions in all, choosing at least 1 question from each section. So we have 3 sections. We have section A, we have section B, and then we also have section C. So the instruction is for you to answer at least 1 question from each section. So you answer 1 in A, answer 1 in B, and then the last one should be answered from C. Then you can choose to answer any of, your 4th one should come from any of the sections. So you are answering only 4. Now let's take a look at the questions that came this year. Answer at least 1 question from here. So you can answer 1 or 2. So question number 1 was identify any 5 major developments that took place with the beginning of village or community life. After this, we will look at the answers or the scheme, the marking scheme or the answers to the questions. So let's just go through the questions. 2, highlight any 5 roles played by the Tuareg in the development of the trans-Saharan trade. And then 3, identify any 5 factors that facilitated the spread of ancient Egyptian civilization. Good. So let's move on to the section B. Section B says A. Name any 3 groups that comprised the Moli Dagbani in pre-colonial times. And then the B also says highlight any 4 factors that accounted for the easy invasion of northern Ghana and the defeat of its indigenous inhabitants. Then 5 says 5A, list any 3 groups of people that had a non-centralized system of administration in the northern zone of Ghana. Then the 5B says identify any 4 functions of the Tindana among the early settlers of the northern zone of Ghana. Then the 6th question, number 6, says name the 3 ways through which transportation of goods and services was carried out in Ghana before the coming of the Europeans. Then the 6B says, in what 4 ways did Ghana benefit from long-distance trade before the Europeans' era? Let's move on to the last part, C. So the question number 7 says, highlight any 5 factors that worked against the success of the national liberation movement in Ghana. In this question, you should obviously know that they are asking for the failures of the NLM. Then let's take a look at 8. Identify any 5 contributions of Governor Sir Gordon Gatchesberg to the development of health sector in Ghana. And this question too, if students are not careful, they will write, or they will include both the political, social, and economic contribution of Gadgetspeck, but they are only asking for the health sector. Then 9, highlight any 5 reasons to support the assertion that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was one of the outstanding nationalist leaders in Ghana. And this was one of the interesting questions that I found. I think at that time there was this trending. That was when Napu said something about Nkrumah and it was trending all over. So Nkrumah's issue was trending all over, and that, I'm sure, occasioned this question. It's very interesting questions. So yeah, these are the questions that came this year. Now, these questions, my thoughts on these questions are that they are very, very, very simple questions, but they are also easy for you to fail. You can easily fail with these questions because they are simple answers. So we shall take a look at the answers to these questions. So let's take a look at the solutions to the questions. Okay. Now, the first question, 1 says, identify any 5 major developments that took place with the beginning of village or community life. So they were asking for 5 developments that took place with the beginning of village life. And when village life began, some of the developments that took place was, first, man engaged in farming. Okay, so man started farming, and then these are some of the explanations. Again, man also changed over to food production. Before the beginning of village life, man lived a nomadic lifestyle, and therefore, when village life started, man began to produce food instead of hunting for food. All right. Then, the third one was the domestication or rearing of friendly and harmless animals. So man also decided to domesticate animals, start to rear animals. Okay. Then the fourth one was the development of village settlement. Man also started to settle in build houses, and start agricultural activities. Then the fifth one was the cultivation of crops. Man also started to cultivate crops after the settlement. And so these were some of the answers that they were asking for on this question. All right, good. So let's move on to the question number 2. It says 5 roles played by the Tuareg in the trans-Saharan trade. And these are a lot. There are a lot of roles played by them. I have 10 over here. So let's go through them. The first one says the Tuareg acted as guides to the trans-Saharan traders for pay. And I know a lot of you will remember this one. They practiced agriculture. That's, they grew crops and reared animals in the WASSCE areas to feed themselves. And they also sold some to the caravan traders. Now, they dug wells along the caravan routes to supply water to the traders and their animal donkeys. Yeah. And then the fourth one, they reared camels. That's the sheep of the desert as we knew it, which they supply to the caravan traders. And we all know how the camel came to revolutionize the trade. 5, the Tuareg also acted as interpreters to the caravan traders, since they could speak many of the leading languages of the areas involved in the trade. Okay. Now 6, some of the Tuaregs were thieves who robbed and even sometimes killed caravan traders. And I know you are familiar with these things. 7, the Tuareg led a nomadic life, which did not allow them to settle at one place for long. This factor made many of them to come down to Western Sudan. It also made them fail to form a kingdom. I think this is not all that a strong point. Let's move on to the next one. The Tuareg played an important role in the conduct of the trans-Saharan trade and the building of the Western Sudanese empires. Okay. And then also in areas of the desert where oases existed, the Tuareg planted crops which provided food for themselves and the caravan. So, and then the last one, the Tuareg provided horses and camels which they kept and fed for the use of the trans-Saharan traders. So these 10 roles of the Tuareg, you can take 5 of them, strong 5 of these 10. All right, Good. So let's move on to the next question. It says, question 3 says, 5 factors that facilitated the spread of Egyptian civilization. We all know the history of Egypt being the cradle of the world's civilization. So what were the factors that led to the spread of the Egyptian civilization? One of the factors was geographical location. Egypt's location also did that, and one had to do with the Nile River. The Nile River provided transportation in and out of Egypt, okay, and also the natural barriers where they shared desert barriers with their neighbors. All these brought in people in there to learn about the civilization of Egypt. Also, agriculture and food surplus. Because of the irrigation techniques, which at this time was the first one in the whole world, they were able to provide more or cultivate more food crops, and so the surplus ones were normally items of trade. They were traded in by our foreigners, and these people came in to learn about the Egyptian civilization. Trade network also played a very important role in the spread of Egyptian civilization. You know that Egypt was a source of trade. Egypt was a trade route in the trans-Saharan trade, and therefore it brought in people, and also resources were found in these areas like papyrus, and then also textiles and gold. Okay, then also the political structure of Egypt, their military conquest, and they also had a strong centralized government. Military, they embarked on several wars of expansion, and that also brought in some foreigners, and then also the spread of their civilization. Egypt also had some quiet innovations. The writing system, architecture, and artwork all disseminated information across in the civilization. In the kingdom. There were also some cultural exchanges and some migration and settlement. So these 7 could be one or ways or factors that facilitated the spread of Egyptian civilization. Let's look at the question number 4. You were asked to write the groups of the Moli Dagbani. The Moli Dagbani, they consist of Mamprusi, Dagomba, and Nanumba. I know students may be tempted to write Mamprugu and all of that. Here they were asking for the people, not the name of the kingdom. Then the next question that came was factors that led to the easy defeat of northern Ghana. You know, the indigenous people who live in northern Ghana, the Vagala, the Sisala, were defeated by the invaders. The invaders, I'm talking about the Gunja, the Moli Dagbani, and those outsiders who came. These were some of the reasons why the Sisala, the Vagala people, the Tampulensi people were defeated. One was the possession of superior weapons by the invaders. And again, absence of any strong kingdom in the north also did not stop the invaders, they couldn't stop the invaders. Then also there was a centralized authority. The invaders came with a centralized authority system, and so they were well organized. Effective military organization was also key, okay, in the defeat of the northern kingdoms. Good. So you can find in your notes some more explanations on these points. Let's look at the question number 5. The question number 5, if I recall, the question number 5 says, question number 5A, right? 5A says list any 3 groups of people that had a non-centralized system of administration in northern Ghana. Non-centralized system in northern Ghana. And basically they're asking you to name some of the indigenous people in northern Ghana, and they are the Vagala, Sisala, Tampulensi, because those who came as invaders, the Gunjas and the Moli Dagbani, they had a centralized system of government. Then they ask question number 5B. They says identify any 4 functions of the Tindana among the early settlers of the northern zone of Ghana. So the Tindana also performed these roles. He was the custodian of the land. He led his people during annual festivities. He was also involved in installation of paramount chief. He also prayed on behalf of his people in times of danger or disaster. So you can write any of them. Now 6, three ways of transporting goods in pre-colonial Ghana. Goods were transported by sea. They were also transported through headquarters or overland routes, and then also by rivers. The next question was the benefit of long-distance trade to Ghana. The pre-colonial Ghanaians engaged in long-distance trade. Some of the benefits that they gained was that it brought about income. Yes, it brought about the establishment of towns and trading centers like Bego, Manso, Kumasi, etc. Because long-distance trade brought in a lot of people. Introduction of Islam, the Trans-Saharan trade also brought Islam to the north. And then also the development of craft industry, especially the weaving industry and all of that also developed because there were demand for their product. Now, let's take a look at the question number 7, 5 factors that work against the NLM. The NLM, we all know, the National Liberation Movement, had some demands, but of course they failed at a point. These were some of the factors that led to their failure, because this question is basically talking about their failure. So the emergence of NLM created violence, particularly in Asante. So they brought about violence, they were attacking each other, and that was, a factor that also worked against them. People did not like them. Another failure was that it refused to attend the Achimota Conference on Federalism, despite the fact that several invitations were extended to them. They were asking for federalism. A conference was organized for them to come and have a discussion, and they refused to go, and all these worked against them. The NLM was organized on tribal and regional movement, so it was also organized on tribal and regional as tribal, because non-Ashantis, as you are saying, their motto was even Matemeho. So you are succeeding from the Gold Coast. So what impression are you trying to create for the other? So you don't expect the other tribes to vote for you because no. So that was there. Then the slogan itself was also bad for them, as I've already indicated. Matemeho was a division. There was the possible fear of Asante hegemony, Asante domination over the states and kingdom. The Gold Coast. This phenomena, to a large extent, scared many non-Asantes not to vote for them. So these were some of the factors that went against the NLM. Let's take a look at the last but one question. 5 development of Gettysburg in health. And this question was tight. It was very squeezed. But then some of the health developments during Gettysburg rule was improvement of health sector or the healthcare. He built the Kulebu Hospital in 1927. He also embarked on public health campaigns against malaria and sleeping sickness. Also training of medical personnel. And so the Kulebu teaching, the hospital was built for that purpose. Establishment of preventive health, that's he embarked on vaccination programs, and also promotion of nutrition and health issues. Good. Now the last question has to do with highlight any 5 reasons to support the assertion that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was one of the outstanding nationalist leaders in Ghana. I decided not to answer this question for you because this question more or less is a debatable question, and it's just about you talking about the role. They are just asking you about the role of Nkrumah as compared to other nationalist leaders like J.B. Dankwa and other people, as we already know. Now, this question is very tricky. If you are not careful, I know students may be tempted to write the achievement of Nkrumah when he became prime minister or later a president. This question is not asking for that. They are only asking you to look at the coming of Nkrumah in 1947, thereabout, up to 1957. Within that 10 years that he worked, what were some of his outstanding achievements that made him stand out among the other nationalists, not Nkrumah as a president. So you have to go and look at the activities of Nkrumah and pick and choose which of them do you think made him outstanding. good. So I know you've enjoyed our discussions. Have a nice day, and do not forget to share, like, and subscribe to this channel.